The stage is set. It all, of course, leads to Ahmedabad like it did in qualifier 2, but hopefully it doesn't fall flat in its face like the Rajasthan-Bangalore game, because Gujarat versus Rajasthan is IPL showpiece, the 2022 final. And boy, don't we have a special preview lined up. We have fantastic insights as always in the form of Nick Knight and WV Raman. First and foremost, gentlemen, how are we this morning?
I'm really good. I'm in Manchester, different background if you've been watching all the time, because we had a terrific game. Our T20 competition has just started here. Lancashire played Yorkshire. It was a tie, no super over, 1 point each, and it was a great night. So yeah, looking forward to another game today, and looking forward to the IPL final, of course.
Right, WE, I mean, if you were a betting man, would you have ever thought it was going to be a Rajasthan-Gujarat final? Be honest with me.
Not really, but after seeing them play the way they have played and the way they've gelled as a team, given the fact that they've had a lot of good players being in form, I thought, this is perhaps the best final you could have on current form, as these two teams deserve to play the final.
So then who starts favourite, WE? Just throw one at you straight away. Rajasthan with the momentum, given the fact that they played in Ahmedabad already, or is it Gujarat who've been absolutely brilliant compared to the rest of the teams this year?
Yes, in terms of the combination, if you look at it on a sheet of paper, yes, Rajasthan Royals will have the upper hand, but the daredevilry and the attitude with which the Titans have played, I think, is going to be a very tight game, very little in it.
It is going to be very little in it. Nick, so does that mean Rajasthan have an advantage, having already assessed the conditions in Ahmedabad compared to Gujarat?
I think so. I do think so. I think obviously when you play that first qualifier, you're thinking about winning that game, getting straight through. And of course, the advantage to that is you have a good break, a little bit of a rest, rest up some weary limbs, get yourself fresh and ready to go for the final. The disadvantage is, as Rajasthan Royals have realised, if you lose that game, then of course in the way that the fixtures have played out, you get a game on that surface before the final, and I do think that's probably maybe going to be quite important. And clearly it's how Rajasthan have played so well. It's been their mantra, and Josh Butler at the top has led the way. So they're just going to be looking for a repeat performance on a surface they're a little bit familiar with. So I agree with you. I think it is a slight advantage.
Okay, remember Rajasthan and GT met in qualifier 1. So what will be the biggest learnings for Rajasthan from that game? Because Gujarat, thanks to David Miller, finished off the chase and made it look like they were cantering home, WE. What's the biggest takeaway if you're in the RR camp going into this one against GT?
Play Rashid Khan without any hang-ups. Just try and play him as another spinner and try and get runs off his bowling too. Because if you notice in that particular game, the last encounter, I thought the runs they did not get off Rashid Khan was the difference. Because you need to try and get runs there. If you look at the way the Gujarat Titans played the Rajasthan Royals spinners, they played them, to get runs. They were positive in their approach, and they were looking to get runs against Chahal and Ashwin, arguably the best bowling spin attack in the IPL, but still it didn't deter the Titans from looking to get some runs. And also the fact remains that from what we saw of the track last night, if it is going to be the same track for the final, the spinners will not have enough help from the surface, which means that they'll be under a little bit of pressure. And again, another factor that will be an advantage for the Gujarat Titans, because they got a very good, strong middle order batting. And if the Royals spinners can't get enough assists from the surface, I think it's going to be a good matchup. And perhaps the advantage will lean towards the Titans.
Rashid, remember, none for 15 in his 4 overs against Rajasthan in that qualifier 1. But I want to ask Nick about potential changes for Gujarat Titans. Remember, the last time they made the one change with Lockie Ferguson sitting out for Alzari Joseph, but surely the Kiwi has a chance, given the fact that it's more conducive to pace. Do you see it the same way, Nick?
I do. And I'm a big Lockie Ferguson fan. I mean, I've seen him play a lot recently. And the thing with Lockie is you're right to talk obviously about the pace that he has, and that being a determining factor. And it's always good to have someone who can bowl you a spell of, excess of 145, 150. The one thing I would say about Lockie, though, is that he's really got a lot better at control of the slower balls and knowing when to bowl the slower ball. So there's a nice mix now with this bowling. It's not just all about pace. So I would make that change. I would go with Lockie Ferguson. And I think if you're Gujarat Titans, you're in a team meeting, and you're thinking, how do we get Josh Butler out? I think you've got to put pretty much most of your eggs into that basket. And of course, if you've got someone with that extra pace, it just gives the captain that extra option.
Remember, Josh Butler did do harm against Gujarat Titans not once but twice this season. And one of the times it was Lockie Ferguson who dismissed him with a scintillating Yorker. So let's see if that is deja vu or not. Now, I want to ask you about WV, in terms of Rashid WV, because you mentioned that they should kind of see him off. But any other threats from the Gujarat Titans bowlers to perhaps upset the likes of Samson, Hetma, and so on and so forth?
If they pick up an early wicket in the form of Josh Butler, I think then it's going to be interesting to see how the Royals go about their innings. Because Sanju Samson, he'll start off well, but the point is that I have not seen him play long enough and then be a good finisher too. Whereas Butler has controlled the innings right through, he's remained unbeaten. Is that something that Sanju Samson is going to do if the need arises? That will make a huge difference to the fortunes of Royals. And that is exactly what they'll also be hoping, that Butler does not get out early and he plays at least about 10 to 12 overs. He's in good form, it is possible. But yes, if the Titans get him out early, then obviously there'll be a little bit of apprehension in the Royals camp.
Remember, gentlemen, this is the 15th IPL final, and history suggests that the teams batting first invariably go on to win the final, 9-5 in that regard. So, Nick, how crucial will the toss be, given that Sanju Samson finally won a toss the last time around?
Well, I think it will be quite crucial. I mean, those numbers tend to play out eventually. I just, having played in finals myself, I just feel runs on the board are quite crucial. So I would quite like to bat first and put a side under pressure going into a massive game. So, yes, again, we've discussed decisions at tosses and teams. A little tricky to do that, in honesty, because we don't know the surface. So, we're talking about perhaps batting first. It might be that we've got a different surface. We don't quite know that yet. But if things are as we expect, and perhaps it's the same surface as was played in the last game, yes, I would try and bat first.
Okay, the chases, successful chases, if you look at it, it has been, tall chases. KKR got in excess of 200. And again, KKR got something like 180, 190 against CSK when they won their first title in 2012. Which means that it is not impossible. It can be a challenge, but generally sides tend to prefer to bat first and put runs on the board.
So, having said that, what is par on this wicket? I know RCB huffed and puffed to 157, but do you think they were 20 short, 30 short in hindsight, WV?
Yeah, you can look forward to a 170, 180 game. The pitch looks good. There's enough pace. But again, the trick will be you need to know how to get runs of real quick bowlers. That's where the trick will be, because the spinners have been rendered ineffective to a certain extent, which means that how do you handle the fast bowlers? You got this Prasidh Krishna's getting wickets. If Lockie gets into the equation here, it's going to be really challenging for the batters if they don't have enough shots to play against the quicker bowlers.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute pace face-off because you have Lockie, Shami, Yash Dayal, of course, maybe thrown into the mix compared to Prasidh, Bolt and McCoy. Nick, finally, is there going to be any home advantage for the Gujarat Titans? I know they haven't played there all season, but 132,000 expected to be in for this one. Surely I think it'll be a 70-30 balance, or would you see it differently?
Yeah, I mean, you weigh that up, don't you? I mean, they haven't had the advantage of playing there, but of course they will have the support of their fans. So, yeah, you kind of play one against the other a little bit. Yeah, possibly. But I think, when it comes to a one-off game with so much at stake, I think players have played so much in front of big crowds that they just get on with it. The only thing I would add to what WV said and what we've just discussed is we mustn't forget the importance of fielding. I mean, we talk about these games, we talk about batters, we talk about bowlers, and we highlight individual players. But having been, we've been in that situation ourselves, when you're out there at deep square, and when you're out there at slip and when you're out there at cover, you are under immense pressure yourself. Don't just worry about the batsman who's got the bat in his hand and the bowler who's running in with the ball. And so in the end, we might be talking about, when this game is finished, a crucial moment, a run out, a moment where a ball was dropped, a simple catch goes down, pressure playing out in a massive game. And so as a fielder, you are in the game all the time. And that might just be something that both sides have just got to hold your nerve a little bit and help the captain out and play your part in the field, because often a run here, a few runs here, a diving save, a brilliant catch in the field, in the outfield, just changes the outcome of the game. And so it's easy to focus on batting and bowling, but don't forget the fielding and the importance of it.
Yeah, we've seen multiple times that the IPL never ceases to amaze us in terms of ebbs and flows. So hopefully this one swings like a pendulum too. Right, before we just wrap up proceedings in this match preview, predictions, because I want to get them to wear their predictors' hats on. Now, what I want to know is the top run getter in the final, gentlemen. Who's going to take the most wickets, and the winner chicken dinner from all you guys. So Nick, we'll start with you, and then we'll get WV's predictions.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. You've left the toughest one till last. I mean, I've had a hunch all the way through this, so I'm going to have to stick with my hunch on this one. My hunch to win the game is the Royals. I'm going to go for them. I just feel that they've had the best side on paper throughout, and of course Buttler has sort of helped promote that and get them off to flying starts. So I'm going to go with them to win. It's hard to go against Buttler as being the leading run scorer in the game. I mean, unwise decision in the form that he's in. And I think the thing with Buttler is, I don't want to sort of put the mockers on him here, but he seems to be able to, one of his great skills throughout the competition is he seems to be able to reset each game and not take his form for granted. The danger sometimes is that you're in such good form, you sort of you start each innings as you finish the last. He seems to be able to sort of section off each game. Leading wicket taker, I'm a massive fan of Trent Boult. So I'm going to go with a little bit of swing, a little bit of carry off the pitch. So that's where I'm going. And I do it lightly in some sense, or I don't do it lightly, rather, in some sense with Shami, because Mohammad Shami, I'm a massive fan. So, but I'm going to go with those names that I've talked about there.
Okay, so Rajasthan, Buttler and Boult for Nick. WV, do you echo those thoughts, or someone else in the mix?
Now let me go, the other way now, because Nick is up with the Royals. Let me go the other way. I want to see these boys win on their debut, the Titans. And if that has to happen, Shami has to do really well for them on the field. And somehow I get the impression that Pandya is going to turn it on tonight, or not. So he has to be the key figure for them to win the game, and he's rallied the side well. He's performed well. He's played finals on numerous occasions. Let's not forget that he's got the experience, which means that if he turns it on, he can be a very brutal hitter of a cricket ball. So if he gets his act right, and also if he rolls his arm over, picks up a couple of wickets, the trophy could stay in Ahmedabad.
Okay, let's see if that comes true, or if it's an encore of 2008, because I was watching Joss Buttler and Sanju Samson post night, and they were literally trying to kind of tell all the fans that they want to win this for Warnie, and that'll be something sublime, because remember, they have Buttler, the orange cap holder, Yuzvendra Chahal's inevitably the purple cap holder, and if they win, they'll pocket their second title. That's all we have in this match preview. Of course, catch these bright gentlemen post-match with me in what's going to be a pulsating clash. Make no mistake, this is the one that you want to watch.